Hey y'all, welcome back to The Inner. Today I'm joined by Michael Perlin. Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. If you would, just introduce yourself a little bit and tell the audience a few things about yourself.
Well, I am currently a filmmaker and writer. Um, it was a long path of getting to that point. But I guess just to be really brief on my background, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Um, Went to University of Texas in Austin. Became a frat boy. Drank a lot of beer. Got in fights. So I was always just wanting to prove myself. Wasn't on any kind of a spiritual path. Didn't even think about it. And that's kind of just the background. So now I'll jump probably to what I call what set me on the path to teach metaphysics and spirituality. Um, so, um, one day in college, a friend of mine, who was a really good friend of mine, said, "We're going to go out into the mountains and we're going to try this psychedelic magic mushroom." And I was completely against drugs. I worked out. I was healthy. I was clean. I didn't want to. The only thing I did was drink beer, and I said, "No way, not going to do it. Count me out." But he and a couple other friends of his that I was really good friends with, they said, "Mike, just come with us. You got to be with us. You're our bestie. You don't have to do anything. Just come and be with us." And I'm like, "Fine, I'll come out. We'll have some fun." Went out into the mountains. To make a long story short, um, I found myself going through an experience that a mind enhancing higher consciousness experience I didn't expect. And I walked off alone at one point during the trip, and I said, "What do you want me to do? What is this?" Because my mind had been so expanded so much, I just couldn't even understand all the information that was coming through to me. And I said, is this why in the 60s so many people were preaching about love and peace and unity? Is this why? And then I heard a voice, and the only way to describe it is it was a voice that was so clearly spoken in my mind. And it said, "Remember your experience and take it back with you." And I said, "That's what you want me to do?" And he said, "Yeah, your ego will come back in, and most people forget everything that all this information usually goes, it's gone. You're going to keep it." And I said, "Okay, I will accept that, and I will keep this information and remember." When I came out of that, my ego came back in. I had recalled everything that I learned on that day, and my life was changed forever. I went on a path. The best way I can describe my experience was I saw the unity of all things, and I felt my oneness with everything. So I knew that we were everything, and that God was this consciousness that lives through all of us, every animal, every person. And I took it back with me, and I knew that truth, and that feeling never went away. So you can call it whatever you want, an awakening, uh, God consciousness, oneness. But since that time, I've been on a path to, well, I started picking up metaphysical information. I worked at a metaphysical bookshop for a year. I read everything I could on the shelf, and I kept seeing the same consistent thread throughout all of the teachings. We're talking about every major religion, mysticism, spiritual teacher all saying the same thing that I experienced. So then I knew it wasn't some drug induced trip, it was a real thing. And that's what set me on the path to kind of bring that common theme out, so that people can understand what these mystics and masters have been trying to tell us. That's all in a nutshell.
That's pretty powerful. So,
Yeah.
what you described there is actually one of the reasons that I actually liked you enough to invite you on the show is that one of my pet peeves with the spiritual community, the conscious community, whichever label they want, um, is that a lot of times there's jargon, there's verbiage without the experience. And I can tell that even though what you were saying wasn't too different, there was an experience somewhere behind there. It's different when you know you're talking to someone or hearing someone who's seen it themselves.
Yeah. That's
Like
why I
I've
like.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I've heard people say that religious people battle throughout the ages, but the mystics all understand the same thing.
Yeah. And the mystics don't have to argue or debate because they're not trying to defend any truth, because you don't have to defend an experience. Defense comes when you're not really sure
Yeah.
and you're trying to convince the other person to see your way. But yeah.
Yeah. So I really enjoy. So, what's been your experience living outside of the factions, outside of the faction war, and just getting to actually go out and share from your angle, from your experience? What's that been like for you?
That's a really good question. Constant shifts and change and adaptation. You start to see who is resonating at higher vibrations and who isn't, and who's going to betray you and who's going to turn against you and who isn't. You can start to, you know it, because you see people's agendas from the start, and it's okay. You can put your trust in people at first, and even if you know their agenda is different, because they can be it can be advantageous to have friendships and relationships, but you have to know that it's probably going to end um, not that great,
Yeah.
because people don't. I mean, I don't want to go there right now. So let me go back. So I started to. There was no internet at the time. I wanted to move to Hollywood and become a filmmaker because I knew that making movies about this stuff would be the easiest and fastest way to get the message of universal spirituality to the masses. I mean, that was what you did back then in the 90s. You made movies if you had a message. So I got there, worked my way up, worked at Paramount, learned uh, editing and graphics and animation, and then I made a film called Three Magic Words, which was my answer to that common theme. One of the books that had fallen off the shelves when I was working at a bookshop, at a metaphysical bookshop, was Three Magic Words by U.S. Anderson. And after reading that book, it was a perfect um, it was a perfect way to explain that common theme in just layman terms, and I knew that was what I was going to use to make the movie about. And so I did that. Got picked up by Warner Brothers, and it's been online and being watched all over the world ever since. So it's called Three Magic Words. It's on YouTube, Movies, TV. But I tell people, watch that first, and you'll understand what it means, what's spirituality versus religion, what the difference is. Very important to know it. If you don't know that, you're not going to ever get it. You have to know the difference. So that's what that movie will do for you.
That's pretty powerful. And you said people can find this just on YouTube?
It's free. Watch it for free on YouTube, Movies, TV. Yeah.
That's
So
powerful. How long did it take you to make it?
4 years. So I was didn't have a lot of money. I was working a full-time job. Stuck a green screen on the wall in my apartment, and a friend of mine, Maura Hoffman, who became my co-producer, we just started getting all the big spiritual teachers in the industry and book authors, and brought them in and interviewed them on the green screen. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to make, but I was inspired by The Secret, and I realized, okay, there's a market for these kind of spiritual docudramas, so I'm going to make one too. And so we got all kinds of people in it: Neil Donald Walsh, Dolores Cannon, Gary Renard, Debbie Ford, and a lot of big names. So it turned out really. I'm happy the way it turned out.
Yeah. I've always loved those collaboration projects like that. Like
Yeah.
people who normally would never work together, even if they're in the same field, finally being in the same project together. There's an energy about it, but I could even say an impartation just with them being around,
Yeah.
being a part of the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, I brought in a lot of the inspirations in my life to be in that film. And it was a miracle that I even found them and got them to come in. Like my path, there's a lot of detail that I haven't, that I've left out of my journey. But I had met people along the way. Max Christensen, who did miracles right in front of my eyes, and 15 years later we crossed paths again, and he remembered me, and I said, "You're going to be in my film." So things like that. It was pretty great. Yeah.
That's powerful. So, what have been some of the, I guess you could say, testimonies of people that have watched your film over the last, what, few years, I guess?
There's reviews on the website, threemagicwordsmovie.com, and they've said a lot of different things. Anyone on a spiritual path at any level can get a lot out of this movie, things like that. And that's what I did. I wrote it for anyone at any level, at any spiritual level. But that's the movie. That was back in 2012. We premiered it in London, um, and since then we premiered it in a lot of different cities, and then I went on to start writing books.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you found me on Facebook, where I post a lot of spiritual messages from the masters, famous
Mm-hmm.
quotes, and that led me to write a book called "The Keys to God Consciousness," which takes 100 masters, teachers, philosophers, and it breaks down every quote they ever said on our oneness with God. So it's a real thing. It's true. Um, you don't have to argue or debate it because you can find it in every single religion.
Yeah.
Um, Even Christianity, Jesus taught divine consciousness, divine oneness,
Yeah.
and he wanted the awakening for all of us. He said we're the light of the world, and we can do also what he did. So
Yeah.
it's all there, and we
Yeah.
just have to wake up to it.
Trust me, I've had my fair share of getting in trouble for teaching that too. I'm like, well, he's teaching a different message than what we're used to hearing.
Yeah.
And these are really telling you two separate things. You have the standard message of Christianity saying you'll never be like him. And then you read the Bible and he's saying, no, you can actually do greater things than me. I'm like, well,
So
there's a
yeah,
difference here.
yeah, it's all interpretation. I mean, you don't have to think that you can be like him. Just follow his teachings. That's all he's asking you.
Yeah.
Follow his teachings: unconditional love, compassion, forgiveness, kindness, healing, giving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the church, like, wanted people to think you just have to believe and you'll be okay. It's
Yeah.
way more than that. Way more than that. So
Yeah. And something I want to go back to, you touched on it a little bit, just the transition of partnerships throughout a journey like this, working with some people for a certain phase, and either it expires or it phases out, or sometimes it turns sour. I've
yeah,
noticed that as a necessary component. Um, a traveler knows when to get on one train and when to get off, and when to get on another. And I found that not just with relationships, but even with certain practices, certain cultures, that there's a time when you embrace one thing a little bit more. There's time for you to move on from that. And, a lot of people expire because they're not flexible enough to move when the spirit is moving through them into
yeah,
something else.
yeah. That's a very good point. I can touch a little bit about that since I did mention that. I've gone through it several times, and I learned something new every single time that I collaborate or partner with someone. Um, if their heart is not living in unconditional love and gratitude for you, for being with you, for being a partner with you, their agenda is going to just shift either to money, to more power, to more fame.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to see where someone's at when you first start working with them. See if they're at that level of vibration that you want to work with. Like, I like to work with people where I can see immediately the love in their eyes when I meet them. I'm like, wow, this person, they're giving me a huge hug and they're like really solid and grounded with their spirituality, then I'll know I can work with this person. But even if that's there, you never know what's going to happen, what's going to come out, because nobody is nobody's enlightened, and everybody is enlightened. And when I say that, what I mean is everyone's on a different level, on their understanding and their unity with their higher self. Everyone's going to be on a different level, and sometimes you slip and fall. Sometimes you you're going to see that it's better to love than and friendship is more valuable than money could ever be.
Well said. We're
Thanks.
doing a work right now in well, in a few different nations, and yeah, it was nice, at least for the first time coming from America, getting to work with people where money and control doesn't come up in the conversations. It's
Nice.
just, how do we work together? Hey, let's
Yep.
work on this together. And no one's afraid of one person handling money because we're like, oh, we're all going to take care of each other, so it doesn't matter.
Wow, I want to work with your friends. That's great. Um, I um, I gotta tell you, like a lot of these spiritual retreats, like Vipassana, the Buddhist thing, they make so much more money because they work on a donation basis versus saying you gotta give us a certain fee. People
Mhm,
pour more money than they ever would when it's on donation. So
mhm.
that there alone shows you the difference between somebody working from love and somebody working from greed.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm.
Like, I wish that became more of the standard. And I guess in some cases it's just ignorant. Some people don't know that something that simple works.
Well, here's the thing: people are going to disagree with this because they're like, "No, I have my business. I have a living. I've got to support my children. I need to charge a fee. This is what the fee is, and this is how I can pay my expenses." I can hear the voices right now,
Yeah.
um, and that's fine. You can have a business. You can charge a fee, but just try it one time. You're going to be
Mhm.
amazed. Take away all your fees and say it's on donation. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. You'll be completely amazed. That's all I would say about that.
Yeah. I've seen, so there was a story that reminds me of, and funny enough, I taught about this yesterday. There was a teacher who did a project. He did an exercise with not just his class, but all the classrooms in that hallway. He gave all of them a balloon, and you might have heard this before. Gave all of them a balloon and said, "Write your name on it."
Hmm.
So all the kids across this hall write their name on the balloon, and he says, "Now throw it into the middle." They throw their balloons down, they stir them up for a bit, and he says, "All right, I'll give y'all 2 minutes. Go find your name. Go find your balloon." And after the 2 minutes is up, very few people, if any, have their balloon.
Hmm.
He says, "Now I want everyone to stop, pick up a balloon if you don't have one in your hand." Everyone got a balloon. All right, now I want all of you to go and hand that balloon to the person whose name is on it. And in just a few moments, everyone had their balloon. When you're
Yeah.
focusing on helping, you find out that things move a whole lot quicker than if you're trying to secure your spot. And, you know, I agree with you politically as well. That's kind of what's crushed the nation, is trying to focus on me instead of we. Because if it
Yeah.
works for us, I don't have to secure me because the system's secure.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. One second.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, those have been some things that I've noticed in a few capacities. Just that, like I said, we're working in a team, and sometimes one person pays for something, sometimes the other person. Some people in the team don't have any money, some people have more than others, but we all pitch in because the goal is the whole team, and no one feels bad if they're not able to contribute. In some cases, they contribute in other ways. You take what you got, bring it in, and it helps everybody.
Yep. Yep.
I come back to the States and it's like, okay, we need this much for this, that much for that. Okay, you don't have money, please go away. I'm like, dang, this is why things move so slow out here.
Yeah. That's why I love watching different countries, and especially in Europe, how people are with each other. And it's not, there's just the value system in so many countries are different. In India, a father can go out and work in the field all day long just to have dinner on the table for their family, and he's extremely happy to do it. And it's just, he's filled with joy to do it every day, to go out there and work and then come home. And he has no car, no TV, no money, no cash, doesn't need it, doesn't want it. When he hears about all the things that we think we have to have and need, he is so happy he's not in America.
Yeah.
This is a real story that was told. So the values, we got to, stay balanced, understand what we don't need, what we think we want, we need. We have to understand that we don't.
Yeah.
Mm.
Letting
Just
love live through.
I mean, it's nice to have those stuff so you can actually do things in America, but that's because you're in America.
Yeah.
You can't you need a car to go get something at the grocery store because it's too far to walk. So we have to adapt to the environment here that we created for ourselves. But maybe one day it'll be more like a beautiful gifting community, like Burning
Man. I see a lot of people starting to pitch in, especially now with the current crisis we're having. A lot of people are starting to work together as a community. I'm like, I hate that this is what it took, but if this is getting y'all to be community focused, by all means.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see how it changes, how this country changes now. We might be turning into something that we didn't expect, and then we'll have to adjust to a new way of life.
Yeah. So, shifting the conversation just a little bit, you mentioned something that I found interesting. And if you're comfortable, I'd like for you to share a bit more, or share a few more stories about experiencing miracles in the supernatural up close and personal.
I knew you were going to ask that. You asked that with all your people. um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, when you ask someone who claims that they're on a spiritual path or have had a spiritual experience, and they tell you that's their own personal, unique perspective of what they experienced. And most people will tell you something spiritual and loving and light and magical. Mine was the opposite. It was dark. It was super scary. But what it did for me, and I don't think a lot of people have been gifted to go through what I went through. And I would say it was a gift, even though it was the scariest, most fearful, most darkest moment of my life. But what it did for me, it made me realize it gave me a new shield of protection. And it made me so strong against darkness, against evil, that it never touched me again after that. I'm not going to go into the story. Maybe I will for you later privately, because it's not for everybody. But it was transformational. Like, I saw what was actually going on in some in the astral realm. Mm-hmm. What can happen and what we can pick up, things that can jump into our auric field and create havoc. in our lives. And a lot of people don't know that this is going on, and they don't even think or understand why they're behaving or speaking or doing things that they're doing in certain ways. But once you know, you can clear it out and become a divine vessel for divine consciousness. And then it changes you. Yeah. So yeah, we can go into Christianity because a lot of Christianity speaks on those things. There's a lot of truth in it.
Yeah. Mm. Sure. Yeah. Let's finally touch the, everyone's favorite topic. We've been kind of avoiding it a little bit, but sure, let's talk a little bit more about Christianity. I know, like myself, your perspective on Christianity is much different from what's more conventional, which honestly makes it a bit more authentic. So yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. I'm not really familiar because I, just recently met you. Is your show primarily Christianity? It's not. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Multifaceted. I have Christians, non-Christians, never Christians, Muslims. Well, I haven't had a Muslim yet. Eventually.
Well, what do you think I am?
Oh, you're just outside of the box. Which is why I like you.
Yeah, thanks. I call myself a universal spiritualist, and for lack of a label, it doesn't really need a label because I don't consider myself anything. I consider myself all of it: a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian, a Jew, and a Muslim.
Yeah. Even when I was a Christian, I didn't fit into any of the denominations because I studied them all and found truth in all of them. So I'm a little Baptist, Quaker, Catholic, Pentecostal, Kojic. I'm going through all these phases. I'm like, you know what? Just call me a Christian for now, or a Christian mystic. And then I branch out of my mysticism, and now it's I'm just a mystic.
Yeah, right. There you go. So if you want to talk about Christianity, we can, but we would talk about Gnosticism and Christian mysticism because that's what I believe to be the closest to what Jesus actually taught in his Aramaic language.
Yeah, and you'd be correct. Sure, let's talk about Gnosticism because a lot of Christians are taught early on that the Gnostics are evil by default.
See, that's what. Yeah, that is what many religions do to any denominations that go against the institution, the religious institution interpretation of their text. Yeah, even the Islam, they tell you don't look anywhere else. This is the only book. The Quran is the only way. Same with the Bible. Same with people. It's man's nature to say our book is the only book. It's just man's nature. So yeah, you have to keep an open mind, and you have to ask yourself, who are the Gnostics? What is Gnosticism? Let me read into this. What were the Gospels? Why were there so many that were not included in the Bible? Mm-hmm. Who excluded them from the Bible, and why? What did they actually say? Before you go into the church's reasoning that they excluded them from the Bible, read them first. See what they actually say. Then you can understand why the church excluded them. And that's the big revelation right there, is when you realize Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Mary, Gospel of
Philip, one of my favorites.
Philip, thank you. Yeah, Gospel of Philip. We're all talking about this inner transformation of and salvation being a living union with God and achieving that God consciousness here and now, and the kingdom of heaven within is really defined even further in that material. And that was in complete contrast to Paul's interpretation of Jesus' teachings, which came 20 years later, and that you just have to believe and have faith and you'll go to heaven. So you have to really look at it all, say which one is probably what Jesus probably taught: worship me and go to heaven, or follow these teachings and you'll see God too.
Yeah, be what I am.
Right.
Yeah. which I've have a special relationship with the Gospel of Philip just because when I first broke away from conventional Christianity, I'd been a mystic already. So I'd already had a very direct relationship with who I call the royal family. And I had reached a point where I realized that there were things that I was teaching at that time that the spirit had never told me, but I'd been taught them. And I was like, I value my credibility. I want to always be able to say, God agrees with me when I teach certain things. So I threw away everything that I didn't get from the spirit. After that point, I just started over with everything, relearning everything. And someone sent me a book and was like, hey, you'll probably like this. And it was a large volume of pretty much a lot of the books that aren't included in our modern Bible. And I started to read through some of them. Some were cool, some I didn't really like too much. But hey, first time reads. I get to the Gospel of Philip, which was included, and it shocked me because almost word for word, it was conversations that I'd had with Holy Spirit over the last few years. I'm like, you mean to tell me this was already in a book that they kept from me?
Nice. Nice. Yep. That's when you realize you're on the right path, because your higher self and God is going to speak through you all the time and give you information, and you can get it. You just ask. But fear will block you from that information.
Yeah.
Any fear, and that's what I notice with a lot of people, is they won't receive it because they're too afraid to look outside the box, or too afraid to go outside of their religious dogma. So they are too attached to who they are. It's part of their identity. They're afraid to let it go.
Yeah. Fear of being led astray keeps you contained. You just never get to know truth.
Yeah. I like your wisdom.
I've grown to, I've learned to give other people grace because, like I just shared, there was a time when I didn't know the stuff I know now, and I had to make a decision: will I trust the spirit I know, or will I trust my intellect to lead me? And I'm like, well, my intellect currently has me confused, as smart as I think I am. So I think God's already smarter than me, so I think I could trust them a bit more than I trust my intellect, just a little bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. There you
uh,
go.
so I realized that some people, even though a lot of us have traumatic experiences with religious people, I recognize most of them are responding from where they currently are. It's not personal 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I just don't like to see it have such an impact on the world. And you've
Yeah.
probably seen one of my quotes that says, "All the problems in the world come from the belief, that they come from that we live on a religious planet currently and not a spiritual one."
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing. Once we can shift, nobody will judge you for what you believe.
Yeah.
Once you go from religion to spirituality, to true spirituality, and that means genuinely spiritual, not just talking it, or and not spiritual bypassing, and not claiming that you that you are an angel and things like that, but just being genuinely spiritual, the way Jesus behaved, godliness.
Yeah. Beyond
Once
the
you're there,
jargon.
right, once you're there, and you lead by example, then you just embody it and you become it, and everybody will learn from you because you're not trying to convince them or convert them to your own way of thinking. You're just showing them the example of how you came to be that. And it's hard because people will attack you, they'll persecute you,
Yeah.
they'll tell you you're a heretic, blasphemy, they'll tell you you're Satan, or they'll tell you you are um, you are that you should be, that they'll condemn you, and they'll
Mhm.
tell you you're in league with the darkness and all this. I've heard it all. I've heard it all.
Mhm.
But what you can get from that is, if you're getting attacked, then you know you're on the right path, and you know you're succeeding in your mission because Jesus knew he would get attacked.
Hey, I like that. See, I teach the same thing. I just worded it a little different. Because I'm a
Yeah,
gamer. So, you're playing video games, you get lost, you just start looking for enemies because usually they only block where you're supposed to be.
yeah, yeah. But it's going back to judging. You also just the judgment goes away. You stop judging people for who they are, what they believe in, and you see them as children of God. And
Yeah.
some are lost, some are found, some will hate and kill and want to destroy you because they think that you're the problem and you're hurting their religion. But
Mhm.
you have to look at these people and know that they're no different from you, really. You don't put yourself above them. You don't see yourself superior to them in any way. You're just have come along to some more information and received it and embodied it before they did. So
Yeah.
they're just as their life is just as valuable as yours, and they're just as worthy as you are. They're just another spark of God's light, and that's what how you get to non-judgment.
Yeah. So I guess my next question will be what was your journey in finding boldness with sharing some of the truths that you now carry? Like being able to openly say that Gnosticism is much closer to Christ takes some level of boldness in this day and age.
That's a really good question. I've never been asked that before. Um, oh yeah, it's about letting go of fear. Like I'm not scared of people. I don't have any fear of death. Once you get that point, you can just speak about anything. Just tell people um, what you've come to realize is true, and they can take it or leave it. And that's what I think a lot of the mystics and spiritual teachers out there that are kind of keeping to themselves because they just don't want to be attacked. And
Hmm.
it's not for everybody. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody. I get it all day long because I'm on social media a lot. I'm spreading quotes every day from
Yeah.
masters. And it's funny because they attack me, although I clearly put who the quote is by. And like,
Yeah.
why are you attacking me for putting a quote up by Paramahansa Yogananda? I didn't say it. So it's really funny to watch. They
Mhm.
attack your character and they judge you and they
Yeah.
ridicule you. It's so interesting.
Yeah. I was
Um,
watching you get attacked earlier. Someone had screenshotted you, was like, this guy's a
oh
phony.
yeah,
He's a fake.
those
He's
people.
a scam. I was
The
like,
people
oh,
have
he's a cool dude then.
yeah. Yes, what I do, I have a strategy. As soon as they start screenshotting past quotes that you put up or comments that you've made to them, and they're posting it on a new post that they don't like, that's when they get blocked. Because that's a sure sign of craziness when they start screenshotting your stuff. I'm like, don't you have a life? What are you
Yeah.
doing? So you got to block them. You move
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Yeshua taught me that offense, like, and I've heard Neville Goddard say the same thing. The people who
Mhm.
are offended the most first turn out to be some of the best students, because
Oh, right.
offense
Yeah.
is a great teacher. Like, because it
Yeah.
gets people to meditate. We
Yeah.
try to get people to meditate. We're like, okay, sit still, quiet your thoughts, do this and that. No, make people angry. That you'll never leave their mind.
I give them a long time. I give them a long chance. So I don't just do it right away. I give them many, many chances. And then if they just get crazier and crazier, they don't want to
Oh
learn
yeah.
anything.
Some
I just have
people are insane, especially on Facebook.
yeah, yeah. It's fun to watch. It gives me for the past 3 years, I've learned more than I have my whole life about human nature, about people.
Hmm.
Because when I let go of that fear and I started speaking about all this stuff and I'm becoming a very loud voice for it. Um, all the crazies came out,
Hmm.
and I realized how many people out there are so scared
Hmm.
of who they are.
Yeah.
They don't want to know that they have a divine spark in them that they can wake up. They don't want to know. So you don't want to. We're not supposed to tell those people, because it makes them crazier.
Yeah.
So
One of the trends,
my information is for those who are receptive.
yeah. One of the trends that I noticed is that out of all the crazy stuff mystics like myself and some of the others share, it's never really the crazy stuff we get persecuted for. It's always the basics, the friendly, the positive stuff. Hey,
Right.
God loves you and isn't trying to torture you. That's what riles people up the most. Hey,
Right.
God wants you to enjoy life. You're loved unconditionally. You don't have to die. You
Yeah.
think it would be me saying that, the all the religions actually get along, that would get me in trouble. No, they're fine with that. It's me saying that, you don't have to die at all. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to be poor. And those are the things that
You know
rile
what I
people up.
noticed? Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And what I noticed, the ones that get the most pushback from religious extremists
Mhm.
are when you speak of not judging, um, gender equality and gender identity, not judging anyone who wants to be something else. Just don't judge them. Let them be who they want to be and express themselves on earth. Let them love who they want to love. That gets a lot of crazy pushback. Um,
I've called some preachers trans. I'm like, you're pretending to be something you're not. What's the difference? So I get it.
well, it's like, you can. I've heard all the arguments, and I always come back with this. I'm like, if God is an androgynous creator, source of light, male and female, then perhaps people that are trans are just identifying with the other part of their soul that they didn't get to become in this lifetime. Like, what is wrong with that? They're identifying more with the feminine aspect of their soul, because we're all androgynous. Our souls are probably androgynous too. But they'll come off with, but God's a father. It's a he. It's a he. And
Holy Spirit's a she.
but when you look into, really look into it,
Yeah.
um, you can describe God with any pronoun. They just used he in the patriarchal times because it was the
Yeah.
only. Jesus knew it was the only way people were going to understand, and he was going off of the Old Testament. Um, he was smart. He was the only way they were going to grasp the concept. But she's both.
Yeah. Have you ever studied the works of Origin?
Yeah. So the reincarnation. He was the first one who put together, who gave us the Jesus teachings on reincarnation. That he was actually talking about reincarnation, and
Yeah.
then he was persecuted and silenced. We never heard about it again.
Yeah. Origin's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah. He's great. Yeah.
But so, in going along that vein, just to talk about this a little bit more, I know you mentioned some a bit earlier, but who've been some of the people that you would consider most influential, whether modern or far in the past, when it comes
Great
to
question.
other spiritual prodigies?
Yeah. Great question. I would first start with Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna. Paramahansa Yogananda, Alan Watts, one of my favorites. Um, Ramana Maharshi, um, Vivekananda. Um, and there's so many. I mean, all the masters that I wrote in my book, The Keys to God Consciousness, would be 100 of them that I have found to be amazing.
Yeah.
Andanai Mai Ma, she was amazing. So many, there were many women that were enlightened that were teaching us. Mother Teresa, um, Madame Blavatsky from the esoteric realms, um, Alice Bailey.
Hmm.
Um, love Neil Donald Walsh's material, the 3 books, book 1, book 2, and 3. Those were inspirational and life changing for me. Edgar Casey.
Hmm.
Um, so I could go on. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, one of my favorite stories of Ramana Maharshi, right,
Mhm.
was when someone had, they were asking him about Vivekananda. They like, well, Ramakrishna was able to enlighten him with just a touch. Can you do that for me? And his simple response was, are you equal to Vivekananda?
That's good. Yeah, that's great.
Skipped right over the ability and went straight to the ego. It's like, oh,
Right,
you think you're equals.
right, right. Yeah. Baba G, another good one.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was a lineage. So we could go into so much. I mean, how much time do we have left?
Uh, we have about another 15 to 30 minutes.
Hmm. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, studying the mystics, something that I've gotten just in general with studying them as much is the pure inspiration. Getting to see them in all their quirkiness still maintain their humanity and still display their divinity on full force.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
As awakened as he was, Ramana Maharshi was very much quirky.
yeah. I mean, they're all human beings. Even Jesus was a man. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to understand that they are going to just be who they are and be human, and not hold anything against them for that. I mean, Alan Watts he liked to drink. So what? I like coffee. Um, you can still be you can still be awake to your to unconditional love, and
Mhm.
teach a path of non-judgment, and walk it, and still be human. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no rule book. Oh, you have to sit and meditate and half
Yeah.
eyes half closed and just speak to others and let them bring you food and then live on God's light. That's not the rule book. Some have done that,
Yeah.
but
We hear the rules from the people who aren't awakened, but the people who we consider awakened never made those rules.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you have people, oh, a Buddha never says that they're a Buddha. Yet when you read the works of Buddhas, he's like, hi, I'm Buddha.
Yeah, we also asked him the question, like, are you an angel? Are you a god? And he said, no, I'm simply just awake. That's what Buddha
Yeah.
said. Yeah, it was great. It was the greatest quote I think he ever said.
Yeah.
But
I've heard some people use the phrase paying attention.
awareness.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm just paying attention, which
Hmm.
is, when you really look at it, that's a crazy way to describe awake.
Yeah. So let's get to the conclusion about all this. I'm going to tell you where this all leads us, and
Hmm.
it's so simple, and it goes along with what Jesus taught and what Krishna taught and what Buddha taught. A lot of people say, "Oh, Buddha was atheist." No, he wasn't. He just didn't speak about God as a personified being because he wanted you to experience it yourself. He didn't want you to reach out to worship an external figure before you attained it inside within.
Hmm.
Um, so here's what it all comes down to. And then what all of them were teaching. And once you get it and you see it, you can never go back. You can't unsee it anymore. And that is God in the face of every single person that you meet. You see, and once you know it's there, you see God in everybody's eyes. And then you treat them that way. And you want to serve them. And you want to wake up other parts of yourself that aren't awake yet because you know that everybody is also you. That's the true path that they all taught and that they wanted us to see.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
When you actually, this again goes back to having the experience versus just the jargon, is that when you actually see from that place, you recognize that everything is made up of the thing we keep arguing about.
Hmm.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
substance itself.
Yep.
When we're kids, we play with Legos. You can have an entire city, but guess what? Everything is still Legos.
Yeah.
People, the buildings, the
Right.
trees. Everything is still just the Legos.
Yeah. Yeah. And then once you get to that point, you have this love that you feel for humanity, and you just love it. You love them, you love people, you love animals, you love the earth, and that love also becomes a romance, like Rumi would talk about in Hafiz, like a divine romance with the goddess or with the god. And if you're male, you can just think about being in love with the goddess. If you're a female, you can think about being in love with God. It can be helpful to understanding that um,
Mm-hmm.
the devotion that Jesus talked about, that Krishna talked about, the devotion and the reverence is a feeling of being in love. And that feeling comes from that desire to be home with your beloved, the part of you that you feel separate from when you're a human being on earth. So the goal, the purpose of life, according to all the masters, is to fall back in love with that part of yourself, and while you're here, while you're alive, and be in love with that divine source of love itself.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So, as we start to wrap up a bit, I just have a few more questions for you. Um,
Yeah.
are there any projects that you're working on that we can look forward to in the near future?
Yes. I don't know if you've seen some of my Facebook reels, but I'm working on a 3D animation that is set in ancient Egypt, and it's a story of King Akhenaten from the 18th dynasty. Yeah, I know. I noticed you were in Egypt, so I was like, yeah, this guy's cool. But I have some vivid memories of my past life in Egypt, particularly in the 18th dynasty. So I knew a lot of people there. Um, most of my life, had visions and memories of my experience and who I was. And so I'm making a movie now about a pharaoh. It's a science fiction period piece adventure of the King Akhenaten from the 18th dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Then the possibility that he was not from this earth, and that he came in to revolutionize uh, the path of the spiritual path and the evolution, the spiritual evolution of mankind at that time.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty cool story. But I'm working on that, and then I have a lot of books that I've done that are available on Amazon. So you can just type Michael Perlin in on Amazon. You'll see all the books that are up there.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff we've talked about. How to um, path to self realization is one of them. Uh, the two faces of God, which
Mm-hmm.
is one of them. It's the shared wisdom of Jesus and Krishna. So I kind of compared the two.
Yeah.
So lots of goodies like that.
Powerful.
Yeah.
So, just continuing on that vein, because my next question was going to be, where are the places that people can find your works and even connect with you?
Yeah. 3magicwordsmovie.com. Um, and then, of course, Amazon for the books. Just type in Michael Perlin and you'll see those books. And Facebook. Just shoot me a message on Facebook and I'll add you as a friend. Or send me a contact in the contact form on 3magicwords movie site. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, this has been a fantastic conversation. I've loved getting to pick your
Yeah.
brain and hear
Yeah.
your side of things. You did a
Thanks
great
for having
job.
me, brother. Thank you. Love you. It was awesome to be with you. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, y'all, that concludes this episode of The Inner. Hope you were blessed. Until next time, later.